straight to it. We have to move on to the third speaker. The third speaker is Maikel Schwerdtfeger from the GASES panel in Germany. And he is going to discuss a very different topic, which is how do people actually complete surveys in our online panels. I already see your screen, Maikel. Thanks for sharing. So if you are ready, the floor is yours.
Yes. So do you hear me? Do you hear me?
Yeah, we hear you.
Okay, thank you.
And we see you as well. All is good.
Perfect. So welcome to my presentation with the title "Width is the Limit," where I investigate response behavior and data quality in a mobile-first layout experiment within a well-established panel survey. I'm Maikel Schwerdtfeger, and I'm doing this research together with my colleagues Sven Stadtmüller, Bella Struminskaya, and Bernd Weiss. So in August 2020, we fielded a layout experiment in the GASES panel, where half of the panel members became a questionnaire in the familiar desktop-first layout, and the other half became the same questionnaire in a newly developed mobile-first layout. In total, about 4,500 participants completed the survey, which were about 90% of the active GASES panel members at this time. The participants could select the participation mode once, online or offline, at the recruitment interview, and the online participants are always free to pick the participation device they want to use. And this was resulting in about 2,200 PC, 400 tablet, 800 smartphone, and 1,100 offline participants with a paper questionnaire. So on this slide, you can see some layout examples. On the left, there is a PC display with a grid question in the desktop first layout, and underneath the same questions as single items in the mobile first layout. For PC participants, there's usually no need for scrolling in the desktop first layout, and in the mobile first layout, we only use single items with vertical scales, so there's only vertical scrolling. In the middle, you can see smartphone displays. With desktop first layout, the participants need to zoom and scroll horizontally and vertically to read their items and pick their answers. And in the mobile first layout, the participants just need to scroll vertically. And on the right, there is the paper questionnaire, where the mobile first layout now has two columns to better fit the single items with the vertical scales. Our research question is, does survey layout affect the completion, response behavior, and data quality? So let's start with the completion. As you can see on the left side, the completion rates for desktop first and mobile first are nearly the same. We also calculated the predicted probability of completion based on a logistic regression, which you can see in the graph on the right side. And there's also no significant difference between the groups. In the next step, we compared the survey duration. Therefore, we ran two linear regressions, one for the perceived duration that the participants were asked for in the end of the questionnaire, and one for the measured duration that was tracked for the online participants. In the graphs, you can see predicted values for the perceived and the measured duration for each of the devices. For the perceived duration, there's no significant differences between the layout groups. For the measured duration, there's a significant difference for PC participants. In average, they need about 2.5 minutes more to fill out the questionnaire at a mean response time of about 25 minutes. This difference in measured duration is especially interesting where we compare it to the survey evaluation in the next step. So here we compared the evaluation of the length and the survey and the overall evaluation. And you can see that PC participants in the mobile first condition do not rate the questionnaire to be longer, even when it actually took them 2.5 minutes more to fill out the questionnaire. On the other side, smartphone participants in the mobile first condition do significantly evaluate the questionnaire to be less long, even though the measured duration was not significantly shorter. In the right graph, you can see the overall evaluation with no significant differences between the layout groups. So next, we analyzed item non-response. Therefore, we generated a count variable for item non-response from 69 items and used it as dependent variable in a negative binomial logistic regression. And about 79% of the participants had no item non-response on all 69 items. The graph shows the predicted frequency of the item non-response for each layout group and device. We can see that the item non-response is higher in the desktop first condition, significant for each device apart from smartphones. A possible explanation why smartphone users do not have significant less item non-response is that the GESIS panel places up to 5 items at one questionnaire page. And with small smartphones, the chances are probably higher that you can accidentally scroll over one item. In the next step, we analyzed non-differentiation. Therefore, we used 60 items from 11 grid questions and calculated an average coefficient of variation. And this coefficient was used as dependent variable in a linear regression model. On the graph, you can see that PC and paper participants show significantly more variation in their responses, indicating that each item is evaluated separately or at least with less influence of the other items. In the last analysis, we analyzed pure straight lining, which is an even more extreme indicator of non-differentiation. So we took the same 11 grid questions and generated a count variable that counts each time a participant picks exactly the same answer options for the whole grid. And 25% of the participants did not straight line at all, and the mean number of straight lining was 1.49. With this count variable, we ran a negative binomial regression and predicted the frequency of straight lining for each device. And this resulted in a significantly less straight lining of PC participants in the mobile first condition. The other devices had no significant differences between the layout groups. So in summary, only one of 8 analyses in only one of 8 analyses, the mobile first layout performs worse than the desktop first layout. In 3 of 8 analyses, there were no significant differences between both layout groups. And in 4 of 8 analyses, the mobile first layout performs better than the desktop first layout, resulting in a conclusion that changing the survey layout from desktop first to mobile first improves, or at least does not harm survey completion, response behavior, and data quality across modes and devices. In further analysis, we need to evaluate these results in the long term and investigate long-term changes in device use. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Maikel. While we wait for questions, I'm going to ask a question that I think is quite relevant, because I know that the GESIS panel is really quite unique in the sense that it's mixed mode, right? It is both on the web and on paper for some respondents. And you showed some examples of the layout, how it looks like in the new design versus the old design in these different modes. So can you tell a bit more maybe about like what considerations you had when you were thinking about going to a mobile first design on paper, right? That kind of sounds like I wouldn't know how to do that, right? How to design mobile first on paper. So how did you go about that, or what are the kind of things that you encountered there?
Yes, so at first we had kind of 2 options, going for this mobile first or doing a responsive design. And we picked the mobile first design because we wanted to keep that every mode and every device has nearly the same, or we try to keep the same view and scale directions. So we decided for like the device with the most restrictions, the smartphone, and decided for the scale direction that is actually the best for it, so a vertical scale direction. And going from this, there's just like no other option to split this paper into 2 columns so that you can get the most out of a page. So otherwise it would be a waste of paper.
I think Ari Kaptein is just in the chat asked kind of a follow-up question to this. So in the title of your presentation, the word "with" was mentioned. So does this also relate to the fact that you had to figure out how to put this on paper and deal with different columns, or did you also look at "with" in a smartphone screen kind of sense?
So the idea behind this "with" is the smartphone screen. So there we are limited, and all the other devices or the paper was adapted to this smartphone screen.
But of course, the obvious comment is, well, you can turn the smartphone, but I guess that's not part of this.
Yeah, so actually this was not an option for us. It's a nice idea, but I think, like, from my personal experience, not scientific at all, not many people want to turn the smartphone. Like when I think of social media, people don't really want to do this, flip the screen and watch it in horizontal mode.
Okay.
I think a follow-up question by Celine Buits just asked in the chat is as well about the scrolling. So you use vertical scrolling, right? And why did you do this instead of using a single question per page kind of design?
Yeah, this is kind of something from the past. So we always had like multiple items on one page. So we kind of kept this as long as the items are by content together. So if they content-wise similar, the same topic, the same grid question is the basic, then we show up to 5 items per page. But this is definitely something that you can scientifically test if this is good or bad, but we didn't do this so far.
All right, there's actually quite a few questions still in the chat. Sorry, I don't think we have time for all of them. But one question here, there was a question by Adam Wolski. That is, did you expect some of the findings that actually the effect of the mobile first design is quite strong on PCs actually? So is this something that you also expected?
It is actually something that we hope that will be because of the research on grid questions. So going away from grid questions was one big aspect in deciding for this mobile first layout. So there is a lot of research. There are also some mixed findings, but some findings are really in favor of going away from grid questions, and so we expected a bit of this.
All right, I think in the interest of time, we have to move on to the final presentation. Thanks, Maikel, for your talk.